Welcome to Let's Write This Movie, where we write a screenplay
while sharing the process with the internet.
I am your screenwriter, René Garcia.
And I'm your collaborator, Brian Glass.
Now, let's write this movie. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Great, Renee. How you doing?
I'm okay. I always feel guilty when I'm not as productive as I should be, especially when there's a long weekend. But what are you going to do? Sometimes
I got to tell you, like right off the bat, when I got my email telling me how many pages were done, I didn't realize it was you did the rest of the script. So maybe you weren't as productive in your eyes, but I thought, wow, you hit it out of the park.
Oh, well, so I guess we're just going to jump into that. Forget the banter. So,
weekend banter.
Okay. What does that mean?
Happened in the weekend. We're not talking about today's show yet. I was just very surprised when I got that email.
What were you expecting?
I thought you'd do maybe, a third or something like that, get us up to 75 pages maybe.
Oh.
But I didn't realize you're going to do the rest of the script.
I thought that's what we agreed.
Maybe we did.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an older gentleman now.
Okay. Well, that was my plan all along, which is hit 45 pages the first week, hit 90 pages the following week. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to. I'm sure you probably didn't have time to read the very quick blog post I put up just to host this week's pages, Brian.
No, I haven't.
But I wrote that, it may seem like I overestimated how much the script would compress. I said, chopping it down from 120 to 90, that's not going to be a problem. It's just dialogue, blah, blah, blah. I still think that's true, by and large. I think the issue, why I don't know that I would have hit 90 during this first pass, right? I mean, the way I'm writing, because I don't have time during the week, it's like I hit the weekend, and then I just, I have to decompress from the week a little bit, and then I'll dive into the script like late at night. I find, and this has always been a thing for me, just as a writer, as a creative, that I am more creative at night for some reason, even though I'm very tired because I'm more or less forced to be a morning person now. Come 10 o'clock, it's like, all right, let's do some writing. I know you're tired. I know your eyes hurt. Let's just get into it, see what we can do. And then it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yes, this scene is much better. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's so much better now. So this whole weekend, I have been going to bed at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, just, trying to put the pages together and work out the scenes. It's a bit of a torture chamber, that, I work in, I guess, but hey, it's producing pages. So whatever works, I guess. But I got sidetracked here. So, the reason it didn't compress, Brian, do a sound check for me.
This is Brian.
Awesome. You sound great. Your levels look good too. So the reason it didn't compress, as much as in terms of absolute pages, is because I added a lot of dialogue to make things work a little better. And as I said in the blog post, the original script was I was too close to it. And, it's even, there is such a thing as being too close to work that, you suddenly, you're so rigid about the work, about the piece, the art, whatever it is, that it's hard for you to deviate. Right. And that is doubly true when it's based on, your life. Right. And it just turns out, now that I'm like a decade removed from the events that it's based on, it just doesn't mean as much to me anymore. And it's like, okay, it's a nice foundation for an interesting story. Let's tune it up and make it more movie-ized, right? And there we are. So a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the scenes just did not, like, reading it again, I'm just like, what was I thinking? This is so, like, amateur hour, right? Like, I can see all of, like, where it's threadbare, where it's like, I don't know what these characters are going to say to each other because I have no idea what these characters are like, right? I have no, like they're not full. They're not complete characters. Like, let's take the manager, Bob, right? He's just there because I needed to, like, fill characters, right? I couldn't just have it be a small cast where, now our hero is in a different country and he's still dealing with the same people. That just didn't ring true to me. And so now I added this very flat, one-dimensional, plot character. And he definitely feels like it when I read it now. And so I gave him a little more dimension, I feel, with this new pass, and I'm sure we'll get into that. Anyway, 99 pages, Brian. 99 pages of script. Edit one down.
21 down, you still have?
Yeah, it took 21 down. Anyway, I'm pretty proud. Like, 21 pages, that's pretty close to goal. I mean, it's 2/3 of the way there, right? I think that's a tremendous feat. I'm still proud. I would have been even more proud if I was able to get rid of the other 9. But I feel like one more pass after getting your notes, I think I can make it happen. And what's funny is that, well, not funny, but you gave me a lot of notes the first time around, like 2 weeks ago. And there were some scenes where I'm just like, I'm going to keep that, Brian. I'm not listening to you. It's going to be there. And then here I am, I'm working through it and I'm like, you know what? The scene, I see where Brian's coming from. Like, I took a step back, right? And I said, you know what? This whole airport thing. I mean, I think maybe we excised it for different reasons. But I think, the fact that we both felt like it could go, I think that's good. That's, it was helpful to me as a writer. All right.
Well, let me give a little preamble as well, because, I was surprised when I saw the page count, number one. Secondly, and more importantly, when I read through it, I felt two things pretty strongly. I felt like it was tighter and flowed really, really well, like without a hiccup, without like a part where I was just like, cringing on it all. And secondly, I don't feel like we've lost any. What you pulled out was judicious in a way that did nothing but make the story better to me. So I got to tell you right off the bat, I don't anticipate this to be a very long show unless you want to just talk about whatever afterwards, because I don't have a lot of notes. This is a really good pass that you took at this, at the second part of the script, to the point where I was like, wow, I'm impressed, because I expected it to read quickly and it read really quickly. Like, I just zoomed through the script, I had to stop, a couple times to write a couple little notes, not a big deal. But overall, I was very, very surprised. And, I was trying to think back, because of course I know all the iterations of the script. What did he take out? And I didn't want to burden myself, because I really didn't want to focus on anything that was removed. I just felt like some things were removed. I don't know what they were, but everything that's here is like singing off the page right now, for the most part. There are a couple little things, but that's the good news. The bad news is, of these pages that you added from 46 to 99, I don't have a lot to cut at all. I have like a word, a line. Yeah. That's it. So it's not going to make, if you really want to get down to 90, I'm not going to give you a lot of good input on these, in this conversation.
Well, let me just say, I know. I mean, I'm feeling the same way. It's probably not going to be a lot of back and forth on edits tonight. And that's good. I feel like that means, I'm doing a good job as a writer, where I can take the feedback, I can make it my own, and I can defend what I kept, because I feel like that's the story. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's an incomplete thought. But I feel like we're simpatico on this, and I know what I just said isn't really aligned with that thought, but a lot of things going through my head right now. So yeah, the last half of the screenplay is quick and interesting, because it's more plot driven, because now this is all where Danny is chasing the girl, right? This is the rom-com part of the movie. And yeah, it's almost, I get the same feeling. You can't really cut a lot here because it's all, I don't want to say foundational. That's the word that I wanted to kind of call back. It's not so much that though. It's more that, they're all tied together, because it's plot driven, right? Like they all set up each other, and unless you just want to rewrite the whole last half of the movie, yeah. It's now a house of cards, right? Where you can't just remove a card. Yeah, not to say it's flimsy, but it's all structural. There you go. I think that's the better word, structural.
It's intertwined. Right. And I will say that my favorite part of the script, actually, not the story, because obviously the story is the main two. That's the beautiful part, and it's got such interesting payoffs and everything like that. But my favorite part of the script is the way that all of the different narratives interweave. And, we get Brian, and we get A&A, and we get, the neighbor, and, all these little pieces that were set up properly before. Now you get payoff after payoff after payoff. Rolling Stone, the whole, his whole change of heart, everything is it's just very clean. And I felt like it was every single piece that was appearing in the end was earned. And that's where I'm like, when I'm watching something, you can sense, or at least I can sense when it's like, I guess I could see where they were going with this, but they never got me emotionally involved in it. They never laid that groundwork, so the payoff is flat, and every one of these just like hitting for me. So now I will say that was the case also with the 120-page script. Sure. They were all, but I felt like it was a little bit more direct, and like it just got to it. There's not a lot of stuff here that's just there. So I mean, it's I'm very, very pleased with it, man.
Well, let me just say this, and I forgot to kind of, I know I'm going to be one of those people who just like has really bad dementia and Alzheimer's, where I have a thought I want to communicate, but then the raconteur in me, the storyteller, wants to like set it all up before I get there. Instead of just like say the point, I set it all up and then I forget the whole point. So what the point I wanted to make, it's not really a point, it's just direction for the show, is that if there's not a lot of back and forth, what I'd like to do is go through the pages and talk about the changes I made and why, because I feel like I'm really, I don't want to sound a little narcissistic here or arrogant, but I really feel like I'm growing as a writer. More than that, though, based on what you just said, I feel like you're growing as a reader as well. I hope that's not out of line for me to say that.
Great. I hope that we're both growing.
Yeah. No, I think the more we do this, the more we work through this process, the more streamlined. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I feel like we're understanding what we're trying to do now. And I felt that way rewriting the last half of the script. I started to think, like, things started to crystallize for me, where I started to understand, okay, I can't waste scenes. I cannot waste time, movie time, right? A scene has to exist for a reason. Okay, and I know that sounds so elementary, and I'm sure you read a screenwriting book. That's what they tell you. I guess it was a little amateurish of me to not adhere to that very strictly. So I'm learning my lesson, and I get it. Like a scene, while it can be interesting and have nice dialogue and whatever, there has to be a very definite reason for it to push the movie along or talk, develop the character, whatever it is, right? Like every scene has to be vital. Now, of course, you get into the danger of like having too many vital scenes, which is where I think I'm at with Epitaph, but that's another story. So, Brian, let's get into your notes. Unfortunately, I don't know if you sent them to me. So,
if I didn't, it could be something that happens very quickly.
How about you just talk me through them?
Sure.
I can pull up the script, the clean script here, and I'm just going to show our faces beside it because we're not actually, we don't expect the audience to read it. And
sure.
Watch it on your computer, folks, if you really want to see the script, or just go to our website, letswritethismovie.com. I did host them today, so check it out. Okay, Brian, go ahead.
So let's go to the bottom of 46, the top of 47. This is Jack.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted, huh? Good job, man. We got some pertinent Jack dialogue. I thought that was really interesting to get in the script and make it a little bit more, attractive to him or to whatever actor,
Sure.
I do think that at the bottom of 46, when Danny says what, even though he's been in the business for a few years, I think he would still be awestruck to some extent by seeing someone of Jack's stature. So I didn't even have him replying, just, him looking awestruck or looking dumbfounded a little bit, and then responding. I thought was fine. The first thing on the top of 47 that Jack says, love it. I thought that was so cool. And the second thing that he says, I love as well. I would just kill the don't give up, because I think it stops. It's great without it.
Okay.
Minor note. There are going to be a lot of.
Okay. No, that's fine. Don't give up was so when I write, sometimes I know the dialogue. I'm like, okay, this is what he's going to say, and it's cool. I just have to kind of massage it a little bit. Don't give up was definitely a moment that I paused for a second, and I said, let me add this. So the reason that's there, and maybe this is bad entertainment for me to just go tit for tat on everything you say, but the reason that's there is because what Jack is saying is it's too broad. It's almost like you'll find someone else, right? When he says someone will say yes eventually. I know, it's this kind of the Venn diagram of Hollywood and chasing love, chasing Hollywood, chasing love. The Venn diagram is that it's a numbers game, right? And eventually someone says yes. Mm-hmm. But Danny doesn't want someone. He wants a person, right? He wants one, a specific one. And so I felt that Jack needed to say don't give up so that the audience could feel like Danny would take this advice to keep going after the thing he wants, not just love in general. Okay. But look, I'll consider cutting it if you feel it doesn't need it. This was a late night dialogue, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm wondering if maybe the last two lines need to be reworked then, instead of someone will say yes eventually. It's more centered around, and every so often you get, and eventually, you'll get the right pitch, or eventually, your number will be up or something where it's a little bit more specific than. Yeah.
And now that we're talking about it, maybe, instead of a numbers game, it's a, almost like something around determination, or it's a, consistency, or, something about constantly, I don't want to say harassing, but constantly, approaching the target, if you will, right? I don't have it yet, but basically that you can wear down a producer, right? And say, it's a really good idea, right? You're missing out on a great deal here, just letting you know. And then you come back 2 days later, change your mind on that deal yet? Because it's awesome. I got a great script, winning lottery ticket. That kind of mentality.
Right. Huh. Well, I think it's close.
Okay, yeah. I feel it too.
All right. So let me scroll down a bit here. So if we go down towards the bottom of 50, this is right after the montage, the time.
Right.
We see the LA skyline and the silhouette. I was, excuse me, silhouette in the rearview mirror. I wasn't quite sure why he grinned. Like with this, is this because he had made peace with the missed opportunity, or is another one looming? I couldn't quite get it. And I didn't know if you're trying to tell me as the reader, he's got something up his sleeve, or there's something he is smiling about that we're going to find out about.
Oh, no, not really. It's just juxtaposition with going to LA. It's like he's clenching his jaw like, oh, LA sucks. And then as he's leaving LA, yes, freedom from, that's what I mean. Yeah. You know, it has nothing to do with the movie necessarily. It's more, you know, just like kind of a little bit of character development just to give him a little more dimension.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the middle of 51. I get Danny and Brian's relationship for a specific reason that has nothing to do with the script.
Yeah. Okay. What does that mean?
I don't know, Renee and Brian, but I have I get I have an understanding of like the little sarcasm that comes out.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if the sarcasm necessarily comes out in the reading of it though. Just like I was trying to divest myself a little bit. In the middle, Brian says, or Dan says, that sucks. And Brian says, yeah, that sucks. Thanks for reminding me. How are you? It sounds a little bit like dickish for Brian to say that. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that was really like, almost like he's not necessarily offended, just kind of like irritated. And I don't know if he's supposed to be irritated here or not.
I mean, not really. I mean, obviously, I am playing off of a little bit of our personalities in this, right? I took out a lot of the Rileys. I mean, I try not to write any Rileys, to be honest, right? Really, I'm cheating pages here by putting action in the parentheticals.
Fake?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I expect the description of the action to show like, okay, I get that this guy's like ribbing Brian because, right? And at one point the other night, I was thinking, you know what? Actors are going to find the character in it. Like, they're going to bring a little bit of themselves into this and just let them act. Let them read it. Let them have their interpretation. And I think it's going to be okay. I think the sarcasm is going to be there, Brian.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it could be read as sarcasm, irritation, pity,
Sure.
So not a big deal. However, at the bottom of 51, Brian says she might like the Notebook, and which is a great callback, to earlier. Yeah. And I feel like that's a big one for me, is not enough of a response. Like, I feel like Danny should say something more like, dude, don't even go there. Just something that's like, just stops the conversation. Like, that's a non-starter for Danny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After we spent such a huge time in the beginning of the script, that's a big one for me. It seems a little bit small for the moment.
Okay. I mean, okay. I feel like here's the thing. I think we lose a lot of. I think we have lost a lot of Danny in the first half. Like the way that we have envisioned him, or the way that I've envisioned him and tried to convey in the original 120 pages. I feel like we lose that kind of abrasive, acerbic Danny, where he'll just say things to kind of like he doesn't really mean on a deep level what he's saying, right? Like, he'll say things just to put people,
right. That's what could be funny about this. This could be a funny moment after we've spent that time in the beginning where he says she might like the Notebook, and Danny says, "What's wrong with the Notebook?" And then starts laughing. That'd be pretty funny.
There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, yeah.
Like, he just wanted to argue earlier.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That can work. Cool.
All right. Okay, I might have made this point earlier about the Danny Bryan dynamic where Danny is giving him a homework assignment.
Yeah.
And it's just favorite thing. So if you were to cut anything, I would cut the few lines at the beginning of 53 where Danny says, "Great, that's your homework assignment. You did a restaurant by yourself this week."
Yeah.
I think it reads just fine without it and just said, Brian says, "Seems easy enough." And Danny says, "Next week, we're going to go to the mall and practice sneering at young couples in love," which I think is funny, a funny line right after "seems easy enough."
Okay. You know what? That is a good edit.
And let's see. Okay, so I know you don't want to put any parentheticals in here, but this whole discussion between Danny and Brian, I feel like it culminates in this. There's just one more thing. Don't stay single for too long. You might get used to it. That's kind of the biting piece. Like, that's where the pain is.
Right.
And I don't know if you want to put, I feel like it's just not emphasized enough because you could just read past it if you're not careful. It's such an important part. And so I know you don't want to put necessarily action in there. I mean, I had him like kind of leaning in a little bit, but I feel like it needs something to kind of set up that moment that it's like, hey, reader, pay attention. This is an important thing I'm about to tell you. This isn't just the funny stuff you just read above, about how to behave when you're single,
Bold. I'll make it bold.
Here's all the funny parts, but here's the part that actually you should be paying attention to. So writer has to solve that, but that's just an issue I had there. Okay, the next few pages I really like, and I struck them all. Oh no, I'm sorry, they're all perfect. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm scrolling down. Okay, so let's go to about 2/3 down, 61.
61.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So this is a great conversation between Karina and Danny.
Yeah.
The one we've been waiting for, right?
Yeah. I gave her a few more lines.
Yeah, right. I like that. So I didn't care for her line when she's responding to what Danny says about, those people who think they're going to be stars look in the mirror and say, "I don't really have the look." But aren't there roles for people who aren't pretty could almost be read as, "Hey, Danny, I don't think you're that pretty. I don't think you're of that caliber." And she may or may not be feeling that, or that may just be a subtext that I caught on to. But I felt like it was a little bit, almost could be mean-spirited a little bit if it was interpreted wrong. So okay. She could say something more like, not everyone can be a star. Not everyone can be the star. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit more generic. It's not really talking about looks necessarily, but
okay. All right.
And then I had Danny responding by taking a little bit out of his response. Absolutely. So he says absolutely, but no one is going to uproot their lives and move to Hollywood to play the quirky but not so cute, blah 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 blah. Because I feel like it's there without having to say the uprooting line.
Yeah.
Uprooting, but the
inspire
line, yeah. It's just a little bit tighter to me. And then on the bottom of a super minor point on the bottom of 61, where he says, "Whereas everyone thinks they can write." I've never met anyone who says the word "whereas," so I'd probably just make that "but."
Where is that?
It's at the bottom, last 3 lines up at the bottom of 61.
Whereas, I see. Well, Danny says that because I say that.
For a long time, I don't remember hearing you say "whereas." That's something.
I say it all the time. All the time.
Whereas I never hear you say it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Hey, who knows? That could even bump a lineup. Change it to "but." I love it.
There are sometimes I'm reading this and I'm like, I probably would omit that last line, but it looks like he added that last line because it fit within that line. Like, I can get away with it a little bit more.
Hell yeah. I love it. Everyone's vocabulary is just like 3rd grade. It's fine.
All right. So let's go into 62.
I'm going to write a movie where everyone just speaks in patois, and it's all just like this Cro-Magnon man, you know. Everything be airy. Anyway.
All right. So towards the middle of 62, Karina is saying, I sympathize with you, Danny, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I just kind of trimmed the end of it to where she would say, and that's so difficult because those songs are me. I feel like that said.
Yeah.
So it's just minor trims on that. And during this part, I was like really invested. Just to let you know, as a reader, I was invested. Like I was there. I was watching Danny like I was watching Danny and Karina. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I wasn't reading it anymore. So when I got to a part where I was like, I feel like that wouldn't happen. It kind of spoke to me very, very deeply. So like at the bottom of 62, when she says being an artist is hard, like we're really getting into her and investing in how she's feeling. And then, okay, I'm sorry. So she says, being an artist is hard. I don't have to tell you that, but I like that, by the way. But it looks like you're resourceful. I mean, you found a way to get to me. Of course, Danny knows what she means because he's there. So I just had him, like we haven't spent a lot of time with the warm Danny.
Yeah.
But we spent time with Danny being charming and funny and making her, being interesting, certainly. But I actually had a line of dialogue that kind of replaces the next three pieces here. So the you lost the Rolling Stone, write the interview. I just had something about like a warm smile. Like we've finally as a warm smile, creeps across his face. Whatever you want to write there. But I feel like it could replace that. And Karina could just say, what I'm saying is don't give up, even if Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. I feel like it replaces this whole thing because it's like he's acknowledging, to me, it's not just he's acknowledging that he's resourceful. More importantly to me, it's like she's acknowledging that he's an artist. I mean, that's all. That's like putting him on the same level, and for him to kind of just smile and not, I don't know if he's flustered or whatever, but he's truly like moved to some extent. I like that. I feel like that's a warm moment between the two of them where she's giving him like a compliment that's pretty deep.
Sure. I like that. I think that can still work, but the reason he says, what do you mean? And I know there's no action here to describe what he's thinking at that moment, or even a parenthetical. He is still in this, he's here not to interview her, not to have industry talk. He's there to ask her out on a date, right? And so when she says, you found a way to get to me, his mind is immediately, he's still thinking romance, right? And so I guess maybe now that I'm talking it out, maybe it doesn't make 100% clear sense, but the what I was going for is that he suddenly feels exposed or found out, right? That she knows that he's there to ask her out, right? When obviously she wouldn't think that at all, right? And so that's why when he says, right, the interview, right? Like he's in a different mindset, right? And she's talking business and like, yeah, the interview. Remember you told me about that a minute ago. And so anyway, that's what I was trying to get at. Obviously it didn't come through. So, I think that needs to work a little bit. It needs a little work. Gotcha.
Okay. That makes sense. I understand where you're going with that then.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to do both necessarily, but you need to do what drives the movie forward. I just thought it was a nice kind of compliment that she was giving him there, that it could be acknowledged. So something to think about. Okay. So towards the bottom of 64, I had a little bit of a problem with the action here.
All right. So at the bottom of 64?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bellhop pushes a room service cart in front of Danny's room. The bellhop knocks, and then something catches his eye. The bellhop's eye. Oh, maybe that's where I messed up. Maybe that's where. So he makes himself as thin as possible as Karina, Nikki, and Mr. Sir walk by just as Danny opens the door. Okay, so Karina and Nikki smile and wave at Danny just as they pass. The bellhop pushes the cart into Danny's room, and Danny shuts the door. For some reason, I thought that Danny had picked up that Karina and Nikki were right nearby. Like this tells me they're on the same floor, and he knows that now. But at first, I was confused about this a little bit. So you definitely want him to know that they're on that same floor.
I mean, maybe that's not maybe that's not important to know at this point. I mean, I could probably get rid of the bellhop in all of this, right? Yeah.
Well, the bellhop's fine too.
Well, no. I'm sorry. Here's why. Danny doesn't need to know that they're on the same floor. The girls need to know that Danny's on the same floor and that he's in the room next to them. Otherwise, they're just hearing some dude singing in the shower, and they're just like, I don't know, like, you know, the fact that they semi-know this guy, that adds to the hilarity. Because now they're already thinking like, oh, I can totally rib him later about it.
Right.
Because I would.
Plus, they can't really join the vision if they don't.
Can't join the vision. It could be some fat dude. Can you imagine?
Comes out humming the same song.
Yeah. Ugh.
All right, that's fine then. On my note, when you see this, it just says discuss because I wanted to talk to you about that one.
All right.
Okay, so let's go to. Oh, okay. So 67 towards the middle. This is where we're kind of going back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
Something to consider is that the reveal, because now we've gotten to this great, imaginary concert that Danny is performing in, and he's belting it out like wonderfully, that we get the joke, that he's back in the shower again, and it's his voice, and it's off key as usual.
Yeah.
I thought was good. Something to consider would be that comes through on the very next scene instead, which is Karina and Nikki are the ones who hear the reality coming through the, rather than the audience alone.
Well, okay. I can see that. I'm just wondering if we lose, because you know how I'm expecting the actor to kind of ham it up a little bit, right? With like making exaggerated singing faces. You ever see like John Mayer's guitar face? I think you're the one who showed me that. John Mayer's guitar face? Yeah. So I want that, right? And to have it just be the girls hearing it kind of sounding bad. I think we lose the slapstick visual comedy a little bit.
You will.
So I'll consider it if it really comes down to like we're like one line away to make it 90 pages.
I wouldn't do it. I think it's fine. And by the way, we haven't really acknowledged the slapstick stuff because we kind of went right past it. But I saw some things were tempered down a little bit. Like
what? Oh, like the hip thrusting and all that? Well,
no, like the airplane ride to get there.
Oh,
back, isn't it? That's going back.
Yeah, that is back. Yeah,
no, it's going back. It's on the way back that all the was it here?
It's going too.
It wasn't as bad. It was tempered.
Well, I got rid of the TSA, and so I think you're okay with the head grabbing thing. I was like, I was miming it. I was acting it out as I was writing it, and it just made me laugh so much. Much.
You had to have changed something there because maybe either that or it wasn't just piling on. It was a funny thing, that I enjoyed actually this time around.
Well, you know why, Brian? I did get rid of the fat dude stinking up the restroom next to Danny, so that is gone. I think that scene doesn't need 2 bathroom humor jokes, right, or bits, but it's also. And we'll get to this hopefully when we kind of just go through what I changed and why. It's also juxtaposed now with more Karina and Nikki, right? And I wanted to show like, hey, they're having a good life, right? So everything that Danny is doing, he's traveling, they're traveling. He's in a plane though, and they're in a cab. Whoa.
Keep talking.
What's happening?
Keep talking.
I'll keep talking and echoing. through your monitor speakers. Hello. Hi. Hello, Renee. This is the best produced show on the internet. We're all good. I don't hear myself anymore. That's weird. I hope you say something, Brian. Let's make sure your levels. No. Okay, so now you're back. All right. Wow. All right, folks. I have no idea what was not said, what you didn't hear. Oh well. You're just gonna have to make up that side of the conversation for however many minutes. Well, that just derailed the fun. All right, so juxtaposition, everybody. That's what we're learning, and it took the edge off the suffering, because it shows a happy Karina and Nikki.
I like it, by the way. I thought that was nice to see it there. You know, it's funny is I was the one who was railing against having that happening in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Very
right.
Here it feels like it belongs. You know, I thought it was really an interesting thing because we're trying to see these two get together.
Yes.
You know, so it's nice to see how her life is going without him, and it's nice to see how his life is going so far as well.
Yeah, I thought it made sense. All right, Brian, please continue. Can't wait to review this video.
Hang on a second. I'm scrolling.
Sing it, Brian, in the melody that I can never remember.
I just keep on scrolling.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. We're going to do a bit of a jump here. We're going down to the middle of 87.
Oh, wow. Almost done.
Yeah. Short conversation.
Middle? Okay. Yes.
I understand she's hurt here, so you may want to leave it. But if you were to cut it, I would not be against it. But where she says he's just a fan who won a giveaway, I think it reads fine without it. If you need the extra pain in there, and a little bit of resentment, then leave it in.
Yeah, you know what? This actually needs to be supported a little more, because I don't think I establish what the stakes are for Karina, right? I feel like Bob, her manager, needs to have a few more lines to Danny. Like, maybe when Danny's in the chair getting directed by Peter, maybe after all of that, Bob says, okay, everybody give us the room or something, right? And Bob can just have this very direct man-to-man thing like, look, you know what Karina's been through, right? And this is her resurgence, rise of the Phoenix, whatever he's going to say, right? It's a very important time for her, and we can't do anything that would jeopardize that. We can't embarrass her. We can't make her emotional, any of that, right? So I don't know what the dialogue is, but basically he's got to like establish that if Danny deviates, right, then he's going to harm Karina, you know. And of course, you know, Danny wants to avoid that, and so, but he does it anyway, right? Which makes the apology at the end make more sense when he says, you know, it was selfish. Like right now, it just feels like here's a guy who thought he had a shot and he took it. This is guy logic since the beginning of time, right? Like we will always try to, you know, go for the thing we want. We'll do ridiculous things. Like you watched The Notebook. You saw The Notebook, right, Brian?
Of course.
Yeah. So, because you have a girlfriend or you have a wife, of course you've watched it. So, you know, you have Noah hanging from the Ferris wheel thing, right? While she's on a date with another guy, right? Like, and he's threatening to like, I'm going to die if you don't go on a date with me, right? Like we will do outrageous things. Even if there's like no hope for success, you know, that line from, what is it? Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance, right? Even though it's like 1 in 10,000 or something, right? Yeah. Like we're going to hang on to that, the glimmer of hope. So
I like that idea. I like the idea of setting it up with the manager, And it could either happen before, or it could happen when he's like, get this guy on a plane. Do you have any idea what you just did? You know, she only gets one shot to make a comeback, one shot, and you made it about you or whatever. You know, if you do it before or after, I think that'd be great.
Maybe we do both, man. I think we can do both.
If you have the room.
I mean, I like it. I like that, right? Like we remind the audience that Danny was warned.
Right.
Right. So, all right.
Which makes him feel too, which I like, you know, because we see the interviews and things like that. You know, afterwards we see the interviews replayed in the gas station, which felt more organic this time. And
yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
All right.
All right. All right. So Robert Downey Jr., I like that as well. At the bottom of 87 and top of 88. I just kind of, let's see here. Yeah, just the second part on 88, I wasn't totally on board with, you know, this associating love with as something coming from above. Maybe it's just me. I just didn't really, it didn't really.
It's just for the joke, man. It's just for the joke.
Yeah, I got the joke.
I mean, I can cut it, but here's my thing. And I was going to save this for the second half of this conversation, but maybe there won't be time for that. The celebrities, I think I'm just going to anonymize them and just say young celebrity, old celebrity, or whatever, you know, veteran celebrity. That way, you know, whichever actor we can get to do the cameo can just feel like, I see myself saying this, right? Because to me, this doesn't sound like Robert Downey Jr. anymore, right? When I think of him, I've never interviewed him, sadly, but when I think of him as like a very playful, like just quipping, you know, and finding like just like a funny angle for any response. And this is more like a pseudo, you know, like pop psychologist believing.
It's McConaughey.
Okay, but he has the little joke at the end though, right? And to me, that's more like a really young guy who's trying to sound, you know, like he has this epiphany, like, oh, and it rhymes, you know? So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I'll leave it at that for this part. Right. Let's see here. Bear with me for a second as I keep scrolling.
Keep those pages scrolling.
Right. So on 94.
Oof. The end is nigh.
The end is nigh. I'm wondering, because now we're in Danny's article that he's writing. So he's writing to his audience. Yes. I'm wondering if they know that Karina's husband died or not. So, you know, if they're as informed. So I just put in the VO there. Here's Karina Ray's love and commitment to her husband who passed, transcending death itself. I get it. It says transcending death itself. I just don't know if they'll pick up on that if they don't know, and if Danny will inform them that, or if there's a better way to do that.
Well, I think we're making it too realistic.
And dude, I'm splitting hairs when I get something like that, by the way.
Yeah, no. What I mean is, you know, it's for the movie audience. Like they know.
Right. Yeah. So I can't really like stick to my guns on these. Yeah, whatever. Just some comments. Let's go to 99, the last page.
All right.
Something to consider here, where it says a rock ballad about love plays over the speakers, would be a reprise of the song from the shower scene as being, because it's something. Okay. But now they're going to share in a different way.
That is awesome, because now, I mean, I think it's awesome for the reader, because now they have something to like hang on to rather than them thinking like, well, what song would go here? I don't know. Right.
Right.
I think that's good.
Okay, cool. And then the very last line, I don't think applies anymore, does it?
Ooh, line up. Oh, correct. Thank you. I was a little too.
I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2 a.m. I need to sleep. Who knows? Maybe the song they use has Lord in it. Lord. If we're lucky, it will, Brian.
Exactly. If not, what does that mean? Is this a holy thing? Do I have to reread this? Is this a religious parable?
It is. It's an allegory. The suffering of Jesus. Okay, so let's go through this again. Thank you for those notes, Brian.
And before we do that, maybe we should take about 1 minute.
Okay.
Remind everyone of our website.
We'll do that. Let me hang on. Let me just pull up the website, and it is there. Okay, everybody. This is our website. Let's write this movie.com. I do my best to add all of our episodes here before we actually start recording. Unfortunately, my best isn't always good enough. So you'll see that there's a pretty big delta between episode 27 and episode 36, and then episode 39. That's because I just didn't get around to putting up pages, and sometimes there are no pages to share, and I just don't feel like blogging just to say there are no pages. But here's how I feel. Let me emote, and you will read it. Nevertheless, I did put up the most recent pages. So the way this works is you'll just click into the episode. The blog post that represents the episode, and you will read what I've posted. And below that, I'll just kind of give you my thoughts on how the pages went as I wrote them, and maybe some things to focus on if you're going to give feedback. And you'll see below the blog post area or blog posting, I've also included a PDF of the recent pages, and it's embedded nicely in this little plugin, and you can just scroll through it. Do I have an ability to download this? No, I guess I don't. You will just have to read it through the website. So there we are. For some reason, I thought this had the ability to download. Oh well.
Stacy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so if you read the pages and you have some comments on what I wrote and some feedback on how to, where to take the script or how to edit it, just leave some comments here in the form below, or you can leave comments on our YouTube channel. In fact, let me just pull up the YouTube channel. Here we are. Let's write this movie. Please like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Actually, where else would you be watching this? Please like and subscribe. All right. So let's get back to
watching this on the special edition Blu-ray.
Yes.
That's where they'll be.
Correct. When I finally have enough money to produce it myself. And I play every part. All right. So let's go through these pages. I'll just try to pick out the parts that I feel like, A, that we didn't really talk about, and B, I feel, are important to discuss.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm going to be scrolling through here because I don't have them mapped out in my brain. Let's see. I trimmed the conversation with Danny, where Danny and Brian, and this would be page 49, where I used to have Danny going off on this long, almost like a tirade of how beautiful Karina is, and I don't know that it's appropriate anymore, right? Yeah, I mean, Danny has never been the outburst kind of person. Right. And so it's gone. Also, it made him look a little, I don't know if beta is the word I want to use, but it made him look a little weak. Yeah. So, It's gone. I think it's stronger when he says, I can't even find the words and I'm a writer, right? I think the audience will get it.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay. So I did get rid of the blood pressure scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's some lines in there that I miss, where, he talks about hitting on Anne Hathaway. He comes up with a lot of like the lady doth protest too much kind of responses. And I kind of miss that because, he's no longer trying to convince himself by trying to convince Brian that he's over it. And we have a little bit of that now, but it's more like, it's all very direct, and he's just like, we don't have to talk about it again. Right. And I'm hoping through the acting that that the other actor playing Brian will show like, okay, I get it. I'm not going to talk about it again, even though I don't believe that you're really over it kind of thing.
Right. No, that line about searching his face for sincerity was very telling.
Yeah. Okay, down on 54. Still going here. Okay, so once again, on 54, we do show the juxtaposition of Danny's suffering to Karina's wonderful life. I think it's it's just nice to see the two of them on screen semi together, and it's an important reminder, I feel, for the audience. Do we have the turbulence makes people constantly grab Danny's chair, 55, sometimes grabbing his head. Oh, so hilarious.
But see, it was just added on there. It wasn't the focus of it, which made it funny to me. I like it much better this way. Because I could see that. I don't see heads usually, but I see shoulders being touched all the time on the plane.
Well, but that's why with the turbulence, it's like, whoa! And then it's just like, That's what I mean. One person can be like, the top of the head, and then the next one would be like on the face. Like,
what? Oh. Airplanes.
Oh man, come on, that's hilarious. Okay, so we get to Bob at 55.
Yeah.
So, what I like here is that it's mostly the same, like he's just trying to direct Danny, but I like, when they're in the room by just the two of them, and Bob is trying to make the small talk, right? He sees this guy, he's in bad shape, and here's Bob just trying to like perk him up a little bit, but he's working from nothing. He doesn't know this guy. He's just a guy who won something, right? And so he's like got this very, anodyne conversation, the bad date conversation, right? Danny, he's not in the mood to like really have a conversation. And so I changed Danny's response here. It used to be, I don't know. It felt a little too forced. And like, I the last version of this dialogue from Danny was something about like, oh, I love her music, right? And it's just like, that's a little too like slapstick, made for TV comedy. And so now I feel like it's a little more adult. Danny, he's in a bad mood and he's physically suffering. And, when you are physically suffering, it's like your ability to, to be polite, I guess, or I think people are more direct when they're physically suffering. Right. And I wanted to capture a little bit of that here, and I feel like it came out pretty good. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I love this. I love the whole dialogue, the long dialogue between them, and then Danny goes, "Yeah, I'm a big fan." I think it just like, it just like breaks the ice that he just laid very quickly. Just in a very clean way. That too much? I just wasn't expecting that. I could see Bob more clearly, and it felt like Danny. It felt like him. Yeah. So I thought,
Yeah. Well, there you go. And so I like Bob just feels a little more alive to me now.
Right. No, it's great. It's a bit roll. especially if you're going to add that other little part for him now too.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's see. So yeah, we talked about the Karina conversation. I felt like, so folks just joining us, once again, this is based on real life events, loosely based. And, I had actually used the real person's name who would be in the role of Karina. And so when it's a real person, it's hard to write dialogue for that person when you have never spoken to that person. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's like, whoa, what do I have them say here? Are they going to be okay with these lines? And suddenly you have to like rejigger everything so that one character carries the conversation and the other person can just say like very tepid lines that anyone would say. Right. So now that I'm free of those shackles, I'm glad I was able to carve out a little bit here for Karina so that it doesn't just feel like this very one-sided thing. And she shows she wants to talk to this guy, right? Like they do kind of understand each other on some level.
That's what I was going to say. That's the thing I liked about it is it kind of elevated her into a real character now, into a real like person that can talk to Danny. So they're both artists. They're both able to have this kind of cool dialogue, and I felt like it was much more evenly matched as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I discovered here rewriting these pages is that it's no longer, I took it out of the realm of just like, oh man, she's so pretty. Right. It is someone that Danny can be in love with because there is a real connection there beyond the physical attraction. Right. Like, I feel like in other romantic comedies or dramas that we, as the audience, we just accept that the two love interests are, they're supposed to be together and they're going to run into problems. Right. But, we never stop and ask like, why do you like this guy? Or why do you like this girl? Like what's the underlying connection that makes it all work?
Right.
And I'm just kind of like talking off the cuff here, but I have a feeling, if I really analyze that and I watched every rom-com or rom-dram that I've seen, maybe I could find it. And I'm just like, trying to come up with an angle here. I feel that way.
Yeah. What I think happens though, if you have her just being pretty, and him doing all the work essentially, and her not reciprocating in the conversations and whatnot, then the end of this movie is Danny gets together with Nikki, because they have a rapport.
Yeah.
It's so nice that they have that rapport, and him and Karina have that rapport. So it really sets up, what happens later in that interview.
Right. Yeah.
So much better. I was like, oh, we've got, Danny is committed here, not even seeing the thing that's happening between him and Nikki in terms of, the back and forth and the ease at which he has a conversation with her. I felt like that is like setting up such an interesting foil at that point, because as an audience, you're not sure. You're just not sure he's going to do it. You're not sure go that way. And you think, maybe by page 80 or 75 or something, he might end up with this Nikki girl. There's something there, obviously,
right.
It's great because she thinks that Nikki doesn't know, the audience doesn't know, you know what I mean? But now we're putting Karina at that same level where she's having the cool, interesting conversations with him too. So you're kind of rooting for this one to come through.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really important, obviously, because that's where I want the story to go. What's interesting is that in the 120 page version of this, one of my readers came back with that feedback of like, oh, I thought he was going to get together with Nikki. Right. And it's like, what? Why would you think that? Look, it's called this. It has the name. Right. And they just told me, oh, it was just disappointing that he didn't go for her. They had the connection. And I'm like, So I think I'm seeing that now. And I think the changes I'm making are addressing that. So
totally did. Yeah.
Okay. Scrolling.
Come on.
So, I did get rid of all the lyrics, and I don't think we really lose much here.
Right. You're right.
Blah, blah, blah. They laugh. Cocktail reception. Okay. So, one thing I added here, let's see, I'm on 70. Yes. So, one thing I added here is that in the previous version, I didn't really, from reading it, I didn't feel like the audience would understand why Danny felt like, I mean, when someone is a widow, the other person in their life is physically gone. You're not really competing with that person anymore. Yeah. Right? And so when he phrases, I think she might have someone still in her life, that to me felt like it didn't fit perfectly. Like, I got it. I understand what's happening because I wrote it, right? And maybe the audience would understand it. But anytime you have friction, people are going to they're not going to be with you 100%. So I feel like having this line here where Nikki says, I'd love for her to date, but if you asked her, she'd tell you that she already has a man in her life.
Yeah.
So I like that. Like, I feel like that's just enough of a setup for the way Danny speaks to Karina during the interview.
Yeah, I liked it too. I mean, on my version of the script that I didn't share with you and our viewers, I wrote a comment in there just for you for later.
Okay.
Is Jesus ? But I did actually enjoy that part.
Jesus, what? Oh,
going back. Yeah, I was changing the whole,
Oh, I see. Right. This guy. So let's see. Yeah, I think those are the biggest changes I wanted to talk about that we didn't already talk about.
Because a lot of this was as before.
I did add, when let me see if I can get to the page. This is right when, okay, so I did change the interview a little bit so that it feels a little more like effervescent and it has a few callbacks. And once again, originally writing this, it's like, okay, because I fully expected I would play this part. Danny was actually named René originally, everybody, just so you know. And so I was like, okay, what would I say? What not so much what would I say, but how do I entice the target person who I wanted to play the Karina role to be in this script, right? One of the reasons, or one of the tactics I took, was to really heap on the praise for their work, right? And so this whole beginning part here where we celebrate Karina Ray's triumphant return, this was much more tongue-bathy before, and then following that as well, oh, good things are worth waiting for and all of that, right? And the way he says it and the way it's written, I didn't really like it. So now I feel like it's a little more even-footed and a little more professional. And I have a little callback as well. So, when he says, in the middle of 79, she's like, how are you? And he says, doing better now that my tongue is untied, right? And suddenly he can be this kind of charming, quick-witted guy because he feels, he's starting to feel comfortable, right? And I mean, I know I still kept the good things are worth waiting for, but I feel like it's not, well, that's what I mean. It's not like a hagiography, right? It's not like he's just kissing up. Like some people would say it's worth waiting. It's like, whatever. It's just, he's having a conversation. And once again, I feel like it just feels a little more natural. And this whole, when Danny says, about it never leaving his CD player, I feel like now the joke is a little more obvious. Here we are, these are very prestigious awards, and it's also never left my CD player, and that's the most prestigious award. Let's see. Okay, so there was a change here where after Karina explains why she why she writes about love all the time. And Danny said, I think I love you. Right. And once again, that's just like me shoehorning like, hey, folks, remember, he's here to ask her out on a date. Right. So I got to throw in this weird thing about love, and I'm hoping the actors can act it out. Instead, you know, I just have Danny letting the moment linger.
Right.
And I feel like that's so much stronger. I don't know. What do you think, Brian? You think that's crazy?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Plus, you know, by this point in the script, you know, I really want to like Danny and not have him say things that make me kind of, you know, I hate those awkward moments, you know, and it gets awkward enough by his own, you know, by what he does soon enough.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to kind of lead up to that one rather than have him just blurt it out, you know, and then to continue the conversation.
Yeah. Let me think. I don't know. Oh, okay. So small change that I like is that as Danny is about to ask, let's see. Okay, I threw in Hot Assistant and Rolling Stone again. Like everybody, so Danny has asked, this is 85. Danny has asked the question, and everyone is like, is she going to say yes? What's she going to say? And before it was just Danny's friends, but I threw in Hot Assistant and Rolling Stone just to remind the audience that he is invested in watching this, and then B, that he has suddenly found us like a way to appreciate Danny that isn't like from a malicious point of view, right? Like he's just watching because this is engrossing, right? So there we are.
He gets the biggest compliment I can say. I thought it was always there. So
yeah, I know.
I like it there.
Let's see. So Bob's dialogue here is going to extend. I like what you said. I'm going to have to rewatch this so I can write it down verbatim. So, you know, this thing where Danny's flying home, I used to have a Karina song playing over it, but the direction, the way I wrote it, it sounded like the way I wrote it was almost like direction to the director. Hey, this is going to happen. Do it this way, kind of thing, right? I removed it, and I don't know that was a good choice. Like, I feel like this needs to have a Karina song playing under it, right? And I did give that direction in like previous scenes, like I can't remember, but I know I have. Yeah, like for montages and stuff, right? And this is kind of like a montage. Anyway, so there used to be a song here. I cut it.
Choose a real artist to do this with. You're going to have so many of that person's songs anyway. Saturate movie that it's not going to probably mean much because they're going to do them everywhere. You know, anywhere it makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not in love with Danny being an alcoholic. I mean, I still went with it only because that's, you know, what we left with in part 1. Still think that needs to be addressed.
I mean, he pukes at one point when he's, you know, in defeat, which kind of
morning
makes sense, you know? So if for nothing else, it just adds a little bit of texture to him. I don't know if it's necessarily something he's going to stop doing because she may or may not like someone who drinks. You know what I mean? Especially at a cocktail party. I don't know what she's doing during that or not. She's just mingling or drinking as well. But I like that he had a reaction based on it. You know what I mean? I actually put something in here. I thought later when he had a beer, maybe it was with Pedro or something. Pedro was before the puke, right?
Yeah, that's the night before.
I don't recall. I thought I put somewhere where he was like just sipping a beer, but I don't know. I don't think it's as much a point now because it's not made into a point in the movie anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So to me, it's just the guy drinks like most people drink. You know, I didn't see it as being a good or bad thing. It was kind of benign, other than the fact that he, you know, drowned his sorrows one night, puked the next morning, which is understandable.
Okay, fine, but we make a big deal out of it in part one.
It is
The thing, yeah, it's the thing he changes because he's worried Karina doesn't drink, so he's trying to be a better man.
can't help himself.
He can't help himself. What does that mean?
Oh, look.
Well, yeah, but why does he need to be an alcoholic? What does that add to the movie?
Yeah, I don't know if you even need that part about changing for her.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe that can go then. I mean, it's disappointing. I wish. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, he's just he's I feel like he needs like a prop, right? Like, so if we go back to the origin of Danny, like what he was and why we liked him as a character. Let's forget the page count. We liked him because he said what needed to be said, I guess, or like, he spoke his mind, and that's refreshing, right? Because so many people are afraid to speak their minds.
Yeah.
And not only did he speak his mind, but he's able to defend what he's saying, and it's logical, even though it's like, you don't want to hear it. Like he can still say it, and it's almost like, how can you tell him not to say it when it's the truth, right? Then it just makes you look bad because you don't want to hear the truth. And so it's that kind of gray area where it's like, you're such a jerk for saying this, but I can't fault you too much because it's also the truth, right? And so, that kind of person, like, maybe you could get away with having that kind of person, in a movie and not also have him have like a vice, right? That makes him, like, it gives you a legitimate reason to dislike him a little bit, right? Like, smoking is normally frowned upon, and so you can dislike him for that. Drinking to excess as well, right? I don't know, what else he could do that would be appropriate for the movie and for the character.
Yeah. So with it, let me see how I can put this. When it was there before and he stopped smoking because of her, I didn't really care. It just, if you're putting together my top 10 things that I liked about it, I didn't really care that he did that for her. It wasn't meaningful to me. Everything that he did to her, with her, whatever, that is what stayed with me. And it was just there that he smoked and stopped smoking. I'm like, that's cool too. But, I don't know if that really contributed to what I liked about him or disliked about him beforehand. I don't think it added I don't feel like it had an emotion attached to it necessarily. Like as if someone drinks, I don't think there's an emotion attached with it. Now, if it's someone who is, a drunk all the time and belligerent, and that kind of defines their character, fine. That's something that, that we're going to talk about, and it's going to have to become a much bigger part of the movie. But with it missing, with it gone, I don't miss it. I guess I should say that at all. I just don't think it was that particularly poignant within the script itself, within what I cared about.
I think it's going to be a visual thing then, Brian.
I wonder if we're closer to it just because of real life a little bit, that you think it's more important than it actually is.
I mean, that's very possible. I think though, also, if you were able to, sorry, I'm scratching. I don't know why I'm so itchy. If you see a character who is always doing something, and then, like visually, whether it's smoking or winking at people or whatever, right? Like you're training the audience to expect a certain thing about them. And whenever a person, I'm not talking about movies now, just when a person breaks that pattern, that's always something to pay attention to. And why was that? Why did they make that change? And this is something like police detectives will tell you, right? Like when a suspect, like you have a bunch of suspects and one of them suddenly has broken their pattern, like they always work out on Tuesdays, and that Tuesday they didn't go work out, right? That's something you want to investigate because people are creatures of habit. And so setting up this pattern, and it turns out to be a self-destructive pattern that he stops because of this person, I think that's going to come through, whether it's drinking, whether it's smoking. I can't, excuse me, it's not essential, right? We can still have a character who can go on this journey who doesn't have a vice. I would just like to elevate the movie a little bit, if possible, by adding this. That's all.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's part of the fine tuning of the third pass, right?
Yeah.
See how much it comes through. I could just tell you as a reader, and someone who reacts very strongly to that particular vice, it didn't really make me react strongly either way.
Well, you pointed out last week that because he drinks, it gave you a new perspective on why he's the way he is.
Right, and I am certainly talking about 46 to 99.
Yeah.
I mentioned what I said in the beginning. Certainly was there. I just didn't feel like it influenced the second half of the movie.
Right. Yeah. It's not really in the second half. That's why, right?
Right.
In fact, I don't know why. This is an oversight on my part. At the bar, at the cocktail reception, he should have said something, right? Like the bartender says, liquid courage. And Danny, I should have had a note that said, Danny looks at the cocktail in front of him, longer than he should have, or something like that, and waves it off.
No, then it's there.
That's what I mean. Like I should have because that's the thing. My mind isn't alcohol, right? The only reason I'm doing that is because the whole cigarette thing is an issue.
And I think you should bring the cigarette thing back for the UK release. They don't care there, right?
I have no idea. Just like shoot two versions of the movie.
That was very American. Yeah, two entire.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
starts peanuts in his mouth. Solid courage.
Solid courage. I don't really have anything else I wanted to talk about. I feel like we were able to get to a lot of it, at least the big ones. During our conversation. So I am pleased, Brian.
I am too.
Still 9 pages to go, but man, I feel like there's going to be a lot of excess to cut from the first half. Now that I feel like I have a little bit of clarity.
So what's your plan then? You feel like you're just going to take a look at the entire thing?
So, I am, yes, absolutely. I am fuzzy on the deadline. I know it's in February, but I have forgotten what we're targeting here. Let's see here.
What
is this? This is comedy. Was it comedy? It's got to be comedy, right? Okay. So the final deadline is February 10. So what does that mean for us?
3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So much for turning a corner, Brian. But hey, I've gone over an hour. All right. Yeah. So the 22nd, or we'll say the 23rd, which is this coming Saturday, I will do a full script edit to get the other 9 pages down. When we'll talk about how it looks then. I think that gives us another week for fine tuning. Actually, we got 4 weeks.
Do we?
Yeah, because we have the 23rd, the 30th. Oh, I'm sorry. What am I saying? The 10th is a Wednesday.
So it's 3.5.
3.5 weeks, yeah. So we have some time here, actually. So we have a full script edit to get the 9 pages down. And then we can do fine-tuning the following week. And then we have the 5th, which I don't know what we'll do then. 5th or the 6th. No, it would be the 5th. I'm sorry. What am I saying? We record. Well, whatever. Well, let's just talk about the writing. Forget the recording. So the 6th, I don't know what I'm going to write then. Just another pass, just to clean it up.
Don't do it if you don't need to. We can always talk. I mean, you can always submit it before the deadline rather than on the deadline.
If we have time, right?
Yeah.
Let's use it. But use it for what?
I think if it's done, though, it's done.
Well, that's funny. What's funny is that I reread Epitaph all the time. Okay. And I'm always finding a typo. And it's like, didn't Brian read this? I thought Brian read this. So a nickel-plated gun. I spelled nickel, Nickle.
Really?
And I'm like, why the hell did I spell it that way?
There are a couple in here I didn't call out during our broadcast. You can look afterward.
Okay, thank you.
To fix, of course. I always put those in there for you, but we can do one final check. But I don't know if that's going to make good.
Yeah. No, good point. Good point. Yeah. Okay, Brian. Well then, yeah, I guess we could submit early.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so the plan for the next 2 weeks then, everybody, is full script edit for the next episode, and then the following episode is a final tune-up, I guess, based on that edit. The worst case scenario is that I don't get down to 90 after next week, in which case we'll need that extra buffer to fix. So I have nothing else to say, Brian. How about you?
We're almost there, man. I got to tell you, I didn't think when we started talking about this a few weeks ago that we'd be at this point so quickly. So kudos to you for getting it done, for removing yourself a little bit from the script and looking at it with a true editorial eye. I think that's tough, it's tough unless you've tried it. And, I'm just really, really pleased. So I think the next 2 weeks will go smooth, man. I'm really excited about it.
Well, yeah, I'm excited as well. I think the thing that makes me really, the most excited, rather, is that it's going to put okay, let me back up here. If I can do this with Epitaph, then it'll really test my theory that it's the 90-page page count that is holding me back from winning, right? So I feel strongly about this script. I feel like it's a good story, and I think it's poignant and well-written and all of that. So I'm hoping to get the same success with this.
I'm hoping to have much better success with this.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Well, there you go. You just got to hit that milestone, 90 pages. I'm committed.
You're in the 90s, man. You're almost there.
Yes. 9 pages.
All right, everyone.
Where am I going to get that from? Anyway, yes. Thank you for joining us again, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Visit the website, and we will see you in the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.